What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back to VEGA Conflict. In the last video, we were talking about the Vector event, and I'm going to give a update on what the targets are like a little bit and how far everything's come in game thus far. As well as talk about the Blight weaponry, because I was actually a bit surprised when I started to get the Blight and I saw the recipes show up after I was unlocking everything, but let's go ahead and let's hop back into the Vector store so I can actually give a recommended list that is better than what I listed before for what the player should go for. Now, the prizes are for high level players, well, end game players at that, because of the end game requirement. So for anybody that can actually build them, the recommended list would be the Wraith Cruiser, the Nova Cannon 1, the Ablative Tungsten Armor 2, the Sonian Armor 1, as well as the Blight element. Now, I wouldn't pick up the resistors yet, because as it stands right now, they're useless to us. Because right now, the only thing we can mark upgrade is the frigate, and the cruiser has no resistance slots by default. It gets its 2 resistance slots by being mark upgrade. It gets the first one at level 2 and the second one at level 4. So we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But, other than that, let's go ahead and let's hop over to the workshop real quick. Let's jump down here and let's talk about the Blight Weapons. Now, I was surprised by them. Now, why was I surprised? They are a carbon copy of the other one. So the Nova Cannon, the Blight Nova Cannon, has the exact same damage per second, mass, range, speed, everything as the standard Nova Cannon does. What that means is that unlike the Xeno counterpart, the alien damage, the Blight weapons don't appear right now for the first generation of them, which is the cruisers. They haven't stepped up in damage to a scale that is beyond that of what the normal ones are. They are a duplicate, they're just changing the damage type to Blight, so they gain more armor back. And this is true to both levels because there's 2 levels of the Nova Cannon, there's 2 levels of the Blight Nova Cannon, and both are a carbon copy right down to the very last detail of the original one. However, there is one advantage of them. Since there isn't a blueprint for them, and we have to craft them so long as we can get element, the Blight element at that, we can craft them, and we can craft as many as we want, and they're all instant credits. So that means we could do light fittings using the Blight cannons to help reduce the fit time to actually produce the ship slightly faster, depending on how long it takes to actually fit the armor and things like that, which typically armor hasn't gone above 6 hours for quite a while now on ships. So my guess is we're probably going to see 4 hours, 30 minutes, 4 hours, 30 minutes for the best. So it's going to be quite interesting. And something else that keeps coming up, people ask me in private messages and things like that quite often if I know if there's going to be an Umbra carrier or anything like that, and I've said no to it each time. And I decided this time how to resolve the issue is actually asking CM Bernie if there's a list or anything right now that could be released. Well, the details haven't been finalized, and I could have already guessed that. That wasn't hard to do. So there's no guaranteed ship release set right now. But if I had to go on a limb and guess what would be released, I would say, well, we have a frigate and a battleship, so remove the cutter from that because the frigate basically counts as the cutter because of the insane speed boost when it enters a carrier support field. So if I had to guess, I would say it's probably something like this. We've got the frigate and the cruiser. We need the battleship and the destroyer, and a carrier. And why do I say that? Well, if we go ahead and we hop over to the inventory, most of the stuff that we can use on the Sovereign as well, we can also use Umbra stuff on it as well. So unless they actually release a unique ship that isn't a carrier that can equip carrier class weaponry and things like that, then it'll be pretty straightforward. However, the weaponry also for this one includes Umbra, so each of them can use it. We just have to wait and see and hope for the best. But I just wanted to give a quick update and change the prize recommendations list because I see a lot of people actually going for what they can. And I also have a little bit of a complaint about the vector boxes. The events are typically, the monthly events are aimed towards endgame players, as they usually have been, and that's no surprise. And the introduction of the prize boxes using lower tier technology, most of us already have technology better than everything in these boxes, so this stuff is effectively obsolete. Well, free carrier, I would take it just because I have extra credits for the generators, so it would be useful to me. However, for low levels, the amount of damage they're taking for the fleets is extremely high. However, there is a few ways to work around it. One, from level 60 and above, which is the targets I've hit all the way up to 90, every single target is mixed with a set of bastions and a set of wraiths. The bastions cannot go through the Blight Nebula. They literally destroy themselves, so the enemy ships can destroy themselves if you lure them into it. What I've done so far is I've just been using my Sovereign to do most of the heavy lifting and heavy hitting, and also letting it take most of the damage. Actually, I've had it take all of the damage thus far, and I've actually farmed up everything I need. I just need to finish gathering up the Blight element, and I can just clear out the rest of it for resources. But what I've noticed so far is that each of the targets, to begin with, you can run away, and from level 60 and above, the targets I hit, the Blight Nebula is deployed in such a way that, let's just use my base for example, let's say that this way and this way are behind you and your spawn is like this, even though when you spawn you're facing this way. There are two ways out. You can turn, you can go backwards, you can go this way, or you can go this way. And each way is a safe opening that allows you to get out of the nebula. Now if you go back behind the nebula, so let's say you circle around behind it, there's a wall of nebula back here, the enemy Altarian fleet will most likely fly through it and destroy themselves, and you don't have to do anything about it. However, it seems, from what I understand from what plenty of people have been saying, there is a points curve in effect. And that is the fact that the Altarian ships seems, when they are destroyed, they seem to be rewarding much less than if you destroy the Wraith Cruiser. So there is a bit of a disadvantage. So for any of you farmers that are trying to get easy boxes to advance in the game, it's going to be a bit hard because the targets are focused on everything else. However, the targets are still able to be farmed. If you use a cutter with fusion thrusters is what most people have been recommending. But so far, all I've been doing, personally, I've just been using my Sovereign for everything. Because it's the jack of all trades until a new carrier is released, and from what it seems like, we may get an Umbra carrier, and that will be, it will be the next big ship, and I actually hope that if they do, they actually release a new carrier. It isn't like the Sovereign. I don't want another Dreadnought, and yes, the Sovereign is a Dreadnought. I'm going to officially say it is a Dreadnought, regardless of what everyone else says. And with the new armor system in place, we have a carrier that's made for brawling, and that means the ablative armors and things like that would be extremely effective on it. Now, if they take a note from the Sovereign, it's most likely going to have 2 armor slots, 3 aberlative slots, and that's going to be quite an impressive ship. But only time will tell. But that's about all I want to talk about. I think I've covered everything. Potential Umbra carrier, the targets in the game. Recommended targets is actually anything below 50, because that seems to be the soft spot for most farmers, is below 50. Unless you're using the cutter tactic, in which case then you can go all the way up to 90. And you can just turn and outrun the fleet, run out of one of the corners, and just bolt and then immediately go straight down. Now, your cutters are going to be destroyed, so I wouldn't recommend having anything on it other than the fusion thrusters to keep the repair time low. But literally just bolt out of the gate and make a run for it, and lead the cruisers to their deaths. And if you can, do some damage to the Umbra ships, the Wraiths. But that's going to be it, everybody. If you have any further information regarding the event, or any of the bugs that I may have listed, or any of the points curves that are in effect, feel free to enlighten everyone with a little bit more information than I have, because other people have been testing the fleets, I haven't. I've just been focusing on playing the event this time around. So if you have any information, as I said, feel free to share it. That aside, if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like. If you have anything else to say, maybe a recommendation for another video you would like to see, leave a comment. If you'd like to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe. And as always, everybody, I'll see you later.